The Nerf Rival 4000 is a great gun. In single shot mode, it has a great range, and when you go to full auto, it'll put a lot of rounds down range. As nice as it is though, I couldn't help wondering if I couldn't make some easy improvements. Here's a couple I tried. The first was to increase the voltage to the motors in an attempt to make it fire faster and further. To do this, I just took a single D-cell battery, ran the leads to 2 sheets of thin aluminum that I actually got this out of a can of soda, just cut it out and sanded it smooth, and then put a piece of double-faced tape to hold the two together and insulate them from each other. You can slip this in between one of the batteries in the battery case and the contact, and then run the wires outside and just tape this to the body of the gun. I thought this would increase the voltage about 18%, and that should give me more power. It didn't really work that way. What happened is that it tried spinning faster, but as the RPMs got up higher, the bearings weren't able to take it, and they started rattling, so that most of the additional power that the extra battery produced was lost to parasitic vibrations. And it didn't sound happy at all. I mean, the thing was just grinding away. So overpowering or overdriving the motors didn't work out so good. But I tried something else. I figured if I couldn't make the gun fire better, maybe I could make it look cooler. So I searched around and I found that Amazon sells glow-in-the-dark Rival ammunition. And I thought that would be really cool. I don't use the Nerf gun that often at night, but if I did, it would be nice to have a stream of fiery balls heading towards my enemy. When I got these and started comparing them to the original Nerf ammo, I found a couple of interesting things. First of all, the glow-in-the-dark balls are heavier. A typical Nerf ball, and I measured several and took an average, weighs 1.9 grams. These balls average 1.96, almost 1.97 grams, so they're heavier. Another difference is that the standard Nerf ammunition is about 0.07 inches in diameter smaller than these. And that could cause a problem because these might jam in the firing mechanism. It turned out that wasn't the case. These fire just as reliably as these do. Because these were heavier, I thought they might go further, but they don't. Evidently, their larger size increases the drag enough so that, well, they do go further. They go to about an average of 2 feet further than these, but that's not enough to really make that much difference when you're out in the field. One thing that was interesting is that the original Nerf ammunition tends to swerve to the left quite a bit. They both do, and I think that's because the gun imparts a sideways spin to the ammunition as it's firing. But the Nerf balls tend to spin more off to the side, and I found out why, and that's kind of interesting. Let me show you. Here's an extreme close-up of a typical Nerf round. If you look closely, you can see a seam across the middle, which suggests that these are actually molded in halves and then somehow stuck together. If you look carefully, you can see that the top half is shifted slightly to the right. It doesn't match up perfectly with the bottom half. This gives it a kind of an uneven oblong shape. You get this thing spinning and it's going to go all over the place. The glow-in-the-dark rounds, which by the way cost $13 from Amazon in September of 2016, are all perfectly spherical, much more uniform, and do not have any of this offset business where one hemisphere is not lined up perfectly with the other. So I think that's why they may go a little bit further, even though they're heavier and larger. Okay, so these second-party Nerf Rival rounds appear to be more accurately made than the standard production Nerf rounds. The big question is, though, how do they look when they're glowing, when they're at night? And that's where they ran into a big problem. Let me turn off the lights and show you what I mean. There. Can you see the glow? No? Well, neither can I. The fact is that even though this one's been charging under bright light for about 20 minutes, it glows so dimly that it's almost impossible to see. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First of all, because it's a sphere, if you shine a bright light at it like this, the light's only going to really charge up this one small surface here. The stuff on the sides, and particularly on the back, is not going to see enough light to pick up much of a charge. The second problem is that the manufacturers decided to go with something that looked a little cool, so they went with a blue phosphorescent material. Big mistake. Blue in phosphorescence is the most difficult color to make bright. The combination of dim glowing blue and the fact that only a small area can be charged makes these things almost worthless as a glow-in-the-dark ammunition. But I wasn't quite ready to let that go, so I came up with something that allowed me to charge all the surface at once and with enough energy so that you can see these glowing, although just barely, after you put them in the gun and fire them off. Let me show you how I did it. I lined the lid of a cardboard box with aluminum foil to act like a reflector. Then from the bottom, I pushed up a series of long pins and stuck the glow-in-the-dark Nerf Rival ammo on the tip of each one. What I do next is I place an ultraviolet fluorescent bulb above these with a reflector that concentrates all of the light down. What doesn't hit the balls directly bounces around and charges up the back sides. When I do this, I get a full charge all the way around. It makes the balls many times brighter. Here's what the charger looks like in operation. We'll let it cook here for about 20 minutes, although 10 is usually more than enough to get them fully charged. And then we'll see how bright they glow. And here we are. I've adjusted the camera settings so that the image appears the same as if you were looking at these in person. The glow is noticeable in a completely dark room, but it is faint, and if there's any light around, they quickly get washed out. Another thing I noticed that you can see in this image is that some are glowing much brighter than others, and there's no pattern to this. It's not like the light is hitting some of them stronger than others. Evidently, there's some inconsistency in how much of the glow-in-the-dark material is impregnated into each ball. Some are medium bright, some are very dim. But let's load them up into a magazine and fire off a few rounds and see how they look when in operation. And here we go, firing in 3, 2, 1. Okay, if you didn't see anything, that's because there wasn't much to see. The fact is, even in person, these things are almost impossible to see when they're flying. Laying on the floor in an absolutely pitch black room, you can see them fairly clearly, but in motion, almost nothing. Now I have the camera set to its maximum ISO, maximum sensitivity, which is like 25,000, and the shutter is wide open at f4, so there just isn't much to see. So, I'm sorry these two experiments didn't work out better, but at least you learned that adding voltage and trying for some glow-in-the-dark Nerf balls probably is going to be a waste of money. Either way, I hope you found this video entertaining and interesting, and as always, thank you very much for watching.